So
I am no man's bitch.
oh god, that's turning into an IG clip. So now
Could
that
be a
we've
t-shirt too.
now that we've actually got the cameras turned on and the microphone turned on, and both of them are still on after 30 seconds.
It's PR.
Yeah, it's time to PR. So, basically what we're looking at to start today is CNS arousal.
Yes.
Because, so we needed some salts for this. So of course we opted for Hellfire from Cerberus because
I think they are the hottest salts that are known
Yeah.
to mankind.
because I don't use salts at all.
I fucking
Twice I tried them, and one time I just sat there crying afterwards. I did not PR that day. I sat in the Globo gym crying, and that was the last time I tried salts. So let's just go and get like right up there.
The worst.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
We love Ken. Ken's great. Let's support Ken.
Yes.
We're not sponsored.
Yet.
I bought these. Amazon delivered them the next day, but we did want to go with Cerberus.
Support Cerberus. Great company. Great customer service with them too.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm going to regret my choice here in a little bit. But
Oh, you will.
You
You
definitely
fucking
will. Oh,
will.
yeah.
these guys both love the salts. They're great with it. They just get excited looking at the bowl.
I've had a boner ever since I had these in my hand.
I mean, the chalk bowl in my gym is filled with ammonia caps instead of chalk.
I actually let Finn hit one time.
Oh my god.
We were driving to Alabama, and I keep him in my truck. Well, I'm out right now, but I kept him in my truck. He's like, "Dad, are these those things that you sniff?" I'm like, "They sure are, son." He was 6 at the time, maybe 5. Can I try? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, you can. So he cracked it, and I was like, "You gotta squeeze, buddy. Just squeeze, squeeze, squeeze," and heard it, and he picked up. Ah! I'm mad at you. At that point, I was scared he might reach over and rip my throat out.
Oh, he might have had the energy for it. Right?
I mean, yeah, at that point, he might have. If there was a point in his life up to then that he could have actually achieved it, it was right then.
That's about the same reaction that John Bass had
Yeah.
at Alabama's Strongest.
No, his greatest though was I gave him a kick of that because he came up. He was deadlifting right after me. It was max deadlift on Axel. And he's like, "Can I get a kick?" And I was like, "Yeah, bro, go ahead." He pulls up. "Ah, I thought we were friends."
He as southern as his business is, he just, "We're not friends anymore," and just threw it at you.
Bless his soul.
Oh man, I miss that guy.
Yeah.
So basically, how do we test? And that was kind of this rattle around my head for a little bit.
Yeah.
After somebody offering me again, I was like, no. So I wanted to test it, and obviously we can't go put up a 1 rep max repeatedly on a deadlift or something else. Doesn't work that way. Some of your programming might, but
It does.
but it doesn't necessarily work that way. And there's the whole dick string thing going on.
Yes.
And so going back to some of the recovery reading, research, studying things that I'd done, was talking about using grip as an indicator of recovery. Not overall recovery, but CNS recovery.
Yeah.
Primarily.
Makes sense.
And salts are supposed to hit CNS arousal. Now there's a couple different theories on how and why. Some of it will cross over. Of course, we're not going to be able to test the whole stuff. And again, we'll say it, none of us are doctors.
No.
No.
I didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn last night. So this is for entertainment purposes, because I think that's probably going to be the gist of it.
Yes, this will be entertaining.
And I am disappointed that we're short one member for this evening, because that would have been really fun and exciting.
No, well, I just would have been hit a lot, I think.
That's what I said. It would have been fun and exciting for Justin and I.
Yeah. Yeah. Did Roxy ever hit the Hellfire?
Yeah, I think so. I know she hit the stuff.
Yeah.
That, I mean, we all did. Remember the lid popped open in your kitchen, and like the house was almost uninhabitable.
Yes.
Well, we'll have to save it or get another one for the next time she comes by for one of these. just randomly in the middle of it, we can do that. So I thought about this, and this is great because we can sit here and give it 3. You're supposed to do 3, and then
Right.
kind of come up just to make sure it tracks. We're not going to write them down and average them and everything else. That's a little too much, I think.
Oh, good. I'm not doing math
Yeah,
anymore today.
there's too much math already. But I sat here, I tried this, and I could do it 3 times repeatedly through the evening, and they all came out fairly consistently. So if there is something to this, as long as it's done exactly the same way, they're above the table or down here, or however you want to do it, as long as it's the same, we should be able to say, oh, that actually gave me something. And I know Justin can explain the CNS arousal concept better. So you want to give it another shot?
Absolutely.
The cameras are on this time.
Okay. So the theory is you see this, it's kind of extrapolated out of somebody's imagination. I can't remember who originally put it together, but there is an arousal performance curve. I'm not making eye contact while saying arousal this many times,
Or performance.
as I'm used to not making eye contact when I'm aroused with Bam. If you turn around, it's a little more fitting. Anyway.
We have our own position. We call it the Canada. It's one of us on top apologizing a lot.
Oh, shit. All right.
Now we're not only demonetized, we're geofenced.
That's all right. Well, I was going to go hunt bears, but actually real bears, not,
Not Riverside this time.
no. So anyways, they came up with this idea that there's this, and it's not empirical. It's kind of like a conceptual bell-shaped curve that up to a certain point, as you become more aroused, your performance can increase, and then beyond that, you actually get. Stop stroking it, your beard. Actually, beyond that point, your performance actually suffers, and this is. Yeah, I mean, we've all seen it because you get too far ahead of yourself, too psyched up, too amped up. You start forgetting cues. You get sloppy. You do things that you would never do. You can say this is what people experience on game day jitters, things like that. They're overshooting their optimal point, and that's one of the arguments I think for actually competing more often is to actually be able to walk that back. Because once you overshoot that optimal point, it's kind of hard to come back. You can always go more, whether it's certain songs that you hit or, certain images like, visualizations, emotional thoughts, whatever it is that you need to bring to the table to get in that zone. But if you're already beyond that, you can't just, you got to pull like some Zen shit out of your ass and start like walking it back and trying to get back down.
Yeah.
It's interesting you bring that up because I think was 2 weeks ago I got all pissed off because I missed that PR attempt. And everything was moving great up to that point. This is actually after this and after we have some sandwiches. The other half of what we wanted to talk about was the mental state of lifting and how it affects your performance, but also how it affects training as well.
Yeah.
I, not being a fan of anything like that, over the last couple of years, I've focused on it. And you mentioned the Zen thing, so I'm actually really into the whole meditation, trying to connect mind and body. And I've done really good. I've worked with some doctors, some physio type folks to really be able to kind of hit, okay, well, this is the muscle you want to contract.
Yeah.
I'm not of a professional level or anything. I'm that into it and I'm fascinated by it that I wanted to figure that out.
Yeah.
So I found, and unfortunately I've made my wife pay attention more times than she cared to, but I found when I'm doing a zone 2 training on a treadmill, I can sit there and I can watch the heart rate monitor without changing the button, without changing the incline, the speed, the stride, anything. I can make the number go up. And I can focus on it. And I can pick up 15 to 20 beats per minute.
Yeah.
And then I can make it go down.
Yeah.
And I can drop down another 5 or 10 below where I started.
Yeah.
And then if I just start talking and stop focusing, it just comes right back to where it was to begin with. I've gotten better to where I can do that quicker.
Yeah.
And, well, at your show, it came up. I had 3 or 4 people said something about it. Laughing, joking, talking. Everything's good. Everything's great. I walk up and all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
You know, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah.
Everybody else is over banging their heads on the wall and screaming and yelling and, you know, all that sort of stuff.
And that was just us doing the announcing and setting shit up.
Right.
I was a
Um,
smooth ass MC.
You were. I'll give you that.
But it comes back to I don't do that. I don't do this. I don't walk around. I don't storm. I don't stomp. It's just, okay, it's time to go. You know, 3-4 seconds and let's go.
But I think that plays into personality type just as much as anything else.
It does. Long way through that because
Yeah.
I waffled on a bit. But the other night in training, I got too far. I got to where I started getting so geeked out that I started getting almost like a tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Which I pushed past where I should have. And I posted on Instagram. The results of that was me yanking the shit out of a bar and screaming and yelling and waking up the neighbors and people zip code away.
Yeah.
That's where I feel kind of with this to a degree.
Yeah, and I, you know, when you say arousal, a lot of people automatically in this context will go to, you know, Metallica, full blast. You know, it's like the video with Clint Darden where he's talking about what to do with all your joints popping. He turns up Enter Sandman, wasn't it? And it was one of the like Metallica songs off the Black album. Cracks an ammonia cap or whatever, hits it, and he's like, "You're welcome." I love that guy, you know, but that doesn't necessarily precede optimal performance for everybody. And you look at a personality like J.M. Blakely or somebody like that, I wouldn't expect to see that from him. Now you contrast him with like a Chuck Vogelpohl, who was intensity incarnate. When you watch any lift he ever did, I mean, he looked like if you went to slap him to amp him up at all, you would get injured.
Yeah.
And not because he did anything, but just that amount of energy and intensity that he brought. But I think what it is beyond just that amping up and all that. It's having the focus and the will of purpose to unite in one effort. And whether you need to go to an emotional place, whether you need to go to a calm place, whether you need to go to, you know, when you talk, George Lehman, when you would listen to some of the things that he said, like where he would go to get those lifts, that was fucking dark. Those were some like very, very dark stories, but that's where he had to go to get that. And that's, you know, it's the whole one size doesn't fit all in anything. So yeah, there are going to be some of us that love these things that will hit PR after PR on them. And there are going to be some people that because of their personality and who they are, it's going to kick them so far off their game that, you know, it's almost like, you know, when we were having one of the strongman days in Bam's yard, I can remember he got so amped up getting ready for a frame deadlift. It was like you overshot, and it was clear to anybody that could see you were so amped up. You missed like 3 or 4 visible cues from everybody.
That was submax by a good number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You walked around, paced around the yard for a little bit, came back and repped out. I was double digits.
Yeah. But
But
because
it didn't break after you sat there and
Right.
yeah, just because you had overshot, that's what you get into is just as an athlete and as a competitor, you have to find your way to find how much do I have to turn on in being able to control that.
Right.
Which only happens in max effort work. Plug for me. Plug for me.
For me, it's, for me, it's always you know, it depends kind of thing. They will work for me some days, and other days, like you said, it's just a complete overshot, or I get nothing out of it. And it's where's my head at on those days?
Yeah.
And there's a lot to come back to on that
Yeah.
one. You know, when we circle back after a nice full belly and maybe some Guinness or something. But you know, look, you look around here and there's all sorts of shit everywhere that some of it may look gimmicky, but you know, if it works,
It works.
Yeah.
If this works, I'll keep the bottle around and maybe give it a shot next time I'm lifting something.
Wisdom is known by your children.
After the recovery period here. All right. Who wants to squeeze first
So,
here?
I'll go first.
Are we
since
doing
I'm
ammonia cap first and then that? Because I feel
need
like
a
that's going to
control.
be the overshot.
Yeah, I think we
Why
need a
don't do the
control.
Yep.
Then we need an ammonia cap. Then we need the Hellfire.
Because we go to Hellfire, the ammonia cap is going to be like
Yeah.
pissing on a wildfire.
Yeah.
You don't really just want to make me do this more than once.
Well,
Yes. Here, let's dose these out, one each. All right. And since I've probably got the worst grip strength, I'll volunteer to go first.
All right, so we're gonna set it on. We're just gonna ignore age because that's not gonna factor in.
That's just a number, baby.
All right, so if we hit there, you want kilograms or pounds?
Pounds.
Pounds.
Let's make it sound more impressive.
Freedom units.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
America. What the hell?
All right, so there you go.
2-time World War II champs, baby. All right. 1, 2, 3. 129.
Okay, so you hit the start button.
Start.
Then it should zero it back out.
All right. 126. That feels almost embarrassing. 132.
I'll give you the little chart that came with it. It'll make you feel all sorts of better because that says that you're like Superman.
Really?
Came from China.
Yeah. That's without me getting to the urinal and feeling like a real Superman over there.
Well, do you want
You feeling confident enough to Moss wrestle now?
You-
let's
Oh.
let's all do a control.
You want to do? Okay.
that? 'Cause
everyone do a
that's going to
control?
be in the air.
I'm really like,
Just fiending
All right.
for it.
the fact I didn't crack one on the way over.
Now, with all the injuries, I'm embarrassed to see what this is going to be here.
All right.
All right, so we got to go to counts. Oh. 146.2.
See? Told you.
I was getting 170s when I bought it.
Oh, fuck. Wait, make me feel.
143.4. Well, 139.2. So, all right, low 140s. You are zeroed, sir.
I'll take 130 on my.
I don't think I did that right.
What?
It says 103. What the hell? No, that's not right.
No, you got better grip strength than me by a long shot.
Yeah, I'm not doing this right.
I don't know. Maybe you're not used to gripping something that wide.
I mean, you got your lifestyle, I got mine.
I'm a size queen.
Yeah, I'm getting terrible numbers.
But they're the numbers.
Yeah,
So part of this, you trained yesterday?
Yeah.
You trained the day before?
Yeah.
You trained the day before?
Yeah.
So if we're talking about using this for CNS recovery, you could get 190s if you recovered.
Right.
I did 2 heavy sessions this week, so my number's down from what it was.
Yeah. And every
Right. So
session's
we know-
a heavy session for me. So
So I'm going to say low 140s. You're going to say 130.
130.
And where you didn't want to say what
Pass.
it is, but you know where your number's at. So
Yeah.
we can see if this is going to make a difference.
All right. All right. I've been waiting. 159. I told you
Hit
I
it- hit it
fucking
again.
love the shit. All right, hold on.
Is there a speed to this as well, or is it just
As hard as you can.
okay?
143.
So I think that's
It's
what I
fading
was just trying to
fast.
Squeeze it instead of like.
Now, see, this is interesting.
146.
So it was a market improvement.
Yeah, fucking A. It
I really don't want to do this.
You want me to go first?
Do it. Do
Who's-
it.
no.
Do it.
Whose dumb fucking idea was this anyway?
I think it was yours.
We're
I thought we were
competing.
going to review protein beers.
We're competing. They wouldn't sell the shit to me.
I know.
That's
I just
so-
want to get them wound up. See if that helps with the ammonia.
probably not. You're not distracting me from it either. All right. So
Just pop it and
Like a
shove it
fucking
on up.
junkie.
Hit it. Hit it.
Come on.
oh, it went off. All right. So now I get it. Do it again.
Hit it.
Ah, 139.8. Ah. 138.6. Oh. 136.2. So this is interesting. Ah.
Oh, you're gonna love the
Oh my God,
hellfire.
yeah. I don't think so.
Yeah, big improvement. 33-point improvement.
Did you hit start to re-zero it?
I did not.
You have to hit start to re-zero it.
See, I missed cues. Okay. Yep, it's already coming back down.
So you got a 30 some.
Yeah.
You got a 30.
I went from 129 to 159, so right at 30 pounds for one effort.
Yep.
And I'm down 10. I'm up, and you're up
Up 32.
on the best one?
Yeah.
What were you up on average like?
30, 29, 30.
So I was about 25 on average, but if you take my highest, I was up 30.
You know what? That thing could go fuck itself. Yeah. See, I'm not,
Give it a minute to come back down.
I'm not wild about that. Let it kind of mellow out, and then we want to hit another control before we hit the hellfire, just to make sure.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that we didn't wind up stepping down too far. Well, I'm explaining for the threes of people that are watching.
Yeah, you're also holding me back on this because I'm like, hit it.
So is this? You squeeze the bottle, or you got to put
No,
water in
you
it, or
just gotta
shake it.
just to shake it.
Yeah,
up?
you probably don't even have to shake
Yeah, probably
it.
don't need to
It's
shake it
fresh.
once new, yeah. What's the warning label say?
You may die.
So the warning says for external use only.
No shit.
Right.
I want to meet who required that. label.
This is not a suppository.
Where did that come from? And I guarantee it was somebody in Florida.
Pinkerton.
Avoid contact with skin. Keep away from eyes. Keep out of reach of children. Justin.
143.
Replace safety cap immediately after use. So don't open it, hit it, and then throw it halfway across
No.
the gym.
No, you open
That
it.
was an interesting powerlifting meet, by the way. Everybody was a little jacked up after that one.
My number's up to 143. Still.
I'm back down to normal.
Oh, incorrect or excessive use can cause irritation or burning. Heard that before.
I can. Well, around the Navy bases, they should put that on some of the
143.6.
girls.
So I'm right back to where I was.
I'm still at 143.
So I got 143.6 on my last one, which is right in the middle of where I was the first go round. All right.
I wonder if I should hit one of these on Monday before my stress test.
Cardiologist. No.
I probably wouldn't.
Ill-advised. All right. Since you're
he's
back,
going to keep you for the rest of the day
Yeah.
if you do that.
since you're back down to normal, you should probably do the inaugural.
Gee,
That's-
thank you.
Oh, come on.
So is it just
So I would not put it all the way up to your nose. I'd hold it like here. Oh, you gotta.
Oh. I don't know if I want to do this.
Yes, you do.
No.
Mother of God.
It's okay. I'm going to edit that out.
That's all right. That's about to whoop that's ass.
I don't want to do
I'm
this.
just glad you shot it at Justin and not at me.
Yes, you do. Oh yeah.
Now he's just gonna piss it off.
Oh yeah.
And she's ready.
I mean, if you're going to do it, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh man. Should one of us be standing behind him just in case?
No.
Let him hit the ground.
This is real life, ladies and gentlemen.
Come on, get in there. You go. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. 140. 141. Oh, where did you get that one? Oh, 140.
All
I
right.
didn't go.
Go ahead.
Oh,
All right.
I didn't go down. So
Let's see, because I was still at 143 when I tried it. So let's just catch a control. 153. Fuck, I'm getting stronger through the day. All right, let's do two more. 151. I love that shit. 146. So we'll say somewhere around 150 right now.
Upper 140s.
Yeah, upper
So you see where
140.
you jump.
It's not as strong as I remember. 150.6.
He's reached peak arousal.
151.4.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Is you only have one of them in you?
Huh?
You only have one of them in you?
Maybe.
Have you done more than one on one? Well, I don't know, because you do it for max.
Yeah.
You're back to normal?
It's not as strong.
No, it's not.
Only 20 points.
Yeah.
He's not even going to show it to me.
Yeah.
I won't say what it is.
Yeah, now I'm back down to normal.
Let me see that again.
It's normal.
The Hellfire. Yeah.
It's not the.
Give him a fuck.
I know what the difference is. We're used to the Hellfire Extreme.
Oh, maybe that's what
Yeah,
it was.
That's just the Hellfire. That was what I
Yeah.
found on Amazon that would ship next day.
It's still good.
Oh, that's better.
Justin's just over there doing it for fun now.
If we walked out right now, he'll chop it up into lines on the table.
155.
So you're right back in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm spent.
So-
I'd probably need like 45 minutes to actually come back down to base.
We can hit it again at the end and see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, this is part of what I was looking to see when I came up with this dumb fucking idea.
It's a great idea. I'm so happy right now.
Sit around and just fucking hit smelling salts. all day.
It's gonna be here.
Just wait for the recipe segment.
Yeah.
But I was curious what really in a somewhat quantifiable manner what it would actually do for me. And interestingly enough,
Counterproductive.
counterproductive for me on the first shot, and then the heavy duty stuff was flat. I didn't
Yeah.
up or down or anything, just right on track with everything.
But
But you both got 30-point jumps on the
Yeah.
first hit.
Yeah.
And then we'll try this again at the end, because I think you're right.
Yeah.
You may need a little bit longer run.
refractory period.
But you're still up from where you started.
Yeah.
I'm going to be curious to see after we sit. I'm going to take this away. So we're gonna preserve it for the experiment there, right?
You got any more of that ammonia, dog?
Oh,
We cut that.
At least we know it makes us stupider.
No. This is always there.
that may have been the sauerkraut gas.
Yeah, I can't smell that at all.
Well, there's a big plus.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody hungry?
Sure.
Could eat.
All right. So you signed up for it, whether or not you knew it. We're going to make cheese and raisin sandwiches.
So I think it is interesting though. Like, so on the back of that though, how, like, in your training though, normally you wouldn't be the person that gets super amped up in that way, right? You go more into your, like, I don't want to say zen, but like that
Yeah.
quantifiable, like, visualizing, focusing on the muscles, a much more systematic, calm,
Yeah.
like orderly process.
Yep, I do. So normally, I mean, right before I'm just
Right.
dead quiet, sitting there staring off into the distance. I'm not trying to get angry. I'm not trying to get anything. I'm just trying to get, I guess, as in as I can.
Yeah.
And just that whole empty thoughts kind of thing.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's almost a trained response as well. Like, both of us are conditioned to, hit your PR song, which is something with double bass and distorted guitar, and some guy screaming potentially in Russian, and like hit me across the face, slap me on the back, just
Yelling, screaming at each
Yeah.
other. Like, yeah.
Well, I do the same thing though, is I have the music, but at the same time, I used to put on death metal and lay in my bed and go to sleep.
Yeah.
So I
Right.
drink coffee before bed.
Yeah.
And I sleep great. So I don't know. For some people, I imagine, that whole what's your pump song or whatever
Yeah.
kind of question that always pops up. I guess for some people that raises everything.
Yeah.
Raises the arousal, raises the blood pressure, brings the oxygen flow in it and everything else. And some people get hyped up on it.
Right.
It's possible with me, it's the opposite. Maybe
Right.
it just allows me to kind of focus and
See, yeah, and
zen
that-
out on
that's where like there is a certain amount, because if I'm training by myself, it's I've got the loud music on and all that, and but I think it's me getting hyped up with the music and getting into the music. That's where I get that like Zen state where I can focus on what I'm doing and all that, and I've noticed when I'm doing like that, I really don't miss cues. A lot of the times, my form looks better than it does when I'm not doing that. So. Yeah, I think for some people, it's just the hype.
Yeah.
So, some people it's the Zen, some people it's both.
See, with me, a lot of it, it's lift dependent because in my mind, like I make it's a weird distinction because there's no like there's nothing to tie it to in reality. But like, okay, overhead press, this is a torque movement. So I need music that's got torque, so I'll listen to clutch.
Mm-hmm.
How torque relates to music or an overhead press, I couldn't really tell you,
Right.
but in my mind, that's a connection that I make. Whereas deadlift, for the longest time, my PR song on deadlift was that Tool song Vicarious. When they come back in after the little outro and all that, it's just for some reason that was the song.
Yeah.
you guys
I-
keep going. I'm gonna grab the food here.
Absolutely.
I had a training partner back in the day that, he'd put on his headphones and get all hyped up and, red in the face and hit, a 650 squat raw.
Right.
Then he'd take off his headphones and it's like he's listening to an Elvis gospel album,
Right.
Yeah. I never understood that.
No, it's the
There's never been a time where Amazing Grace wanted me to maybe want to put my head through a wall or tackle a refrigerator,
Yeah.
but like
not even How Great Thou Art.
no. But it depends on who's singing it.
Elvis.
Throwing sidekicks for Jesus.
Yeah. No, I mean it's just interesting because it does reveal that like so much of it. And I remember T Nation back in the day, they wrote an article asking like all these top lifters, what their favorite song was to deadlift to.
Yeah.
And the answers were all over the
All
place.
over the map, yeah.
Yeah. One of them was Calm Like a Bomb because he said that helped him visualize compacting all that energy into a setup.
Trying to figure out how to get the cord without unplugging the. Just may have to cook over there.
But that for some reason that cue, Calm Like a Bomb, helped him visualize compacting all that energy into his deadlift
Yeah.
setup
Mm-hmm.
just before exploding.
Yeah.
So that worked for him. Clint Darden, it's AC/DC and Metallica almost every video. You see him cranking it up, and
Right.
I love the guy for that. And AC/DC, Shoot to Thrill, and what's
I don't know, just go to any strongman show in the South and
you're going to hear AC/DC.
at least 4 times.
Thunderstruck.
Thunderstruck,
That's the one
yeah.
I'm thinking of. It's almost like it should be mandated that every strongman show south of the Mason-Dixon should start with the national anthem and Thunderstruck right afterward.
Well, I just think
And every guy
Thunderstruck should be the national anthem.
Every guy walks in and he's like, yeah, they're playing my song. It's like it's all our song.
Yeah.
How many guys are here that you don't think love Thunderstruck
Right.
other than Bam?
I like Thunderstruck. It's a
Oh,
great song. I'm just sick of AC/DC and Strongman.
Don't ever say that. That's such a hurtful thing to say.
Every Strongman comp, every powerlifting comp.
Yeah, it's like Black Sabbath. The shit never gets old.
It's true.
Except with Dio singing.
Yeah.
That doesn't belong in strength sports.
No.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It's a work of art. It belongs in a rock and roll museum, not in strength sports. I cannot PR to heaven and hell to save my life.
No. I can PR to War Pigs though.
Fuck yeah. I the Void, Children of the Grave.
Yeah.
How many deadlifts have I pulled to Children of the Grave? I will never know. So these are toasted.
This would be easier if I had a microphone.
No, the first time I hit a 700-pound squat was to bark at the moon.
There you go. Classic Aussie. Did you use his patented pre-workout?
No, I was still in law enforcement at the time.
I don't see what that has to do with anything.
I hadn't crossed over to the dark side yet,
Yeah.
sir.
So you were in law enforcement, not working for LA Sheriff's Office.
Right, exactly. I was not Miami PD.
Oh, yeah. We weren't in Miami. We weren't in LA, so no.
Yes, these are toasted. Is that picking me up?
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah. But it could also be that I hear you because you're standing next to me.
That's possible too. So after I throw these in, I will sit down and describe
Okay.
how they're made and where they came from.
Can we PR to Fishing in the Dark after this?
I pulled a PR to Barry Manilow.
Yeah.
Takes all kinds.
Well, it was part of my theory. Of course, the camera can't hear me really well right now. Yeah. See if I can dump these on the ground.
So the raisins come after?
Yes.
Okay.
When you all open up the raisin box?
Absolutely. Me without a knife. I got it. I
The
think I
thread
got
of the
it.
knife.
Yeah. It knew what was coming.
Trying to figure out
No, and that's I mean, somebody gets amped up to Hank Williams Jr.
Yeah.
Could probably pull a PR to that. So how many raisins will we be needing?
Just a couple of boxes.
Couple boxes?
Couple of boxes.
All right, that's 2 boxes. Now I got Fishing in the Dark stuck in my head.
Sponsored by Sun-Made Raisins.
You and me going fishing. Sorry, I won't sing.
No, I bought them too.
I will not sing. But that's a deep track.
So I'm curious now if these are actually going to work. This toaster may be older than you.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible.
Means it's properly seasoned.
Oh yeah, was the only oven that we had over in Japan.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So you know what? I could probably do this on the chair. Hang on. There we go. That's a good idea.
Put the hot object on the flammable chair. Yes.
The heat is coming from the top. It doesn't matter.
So it's not cooking that well. It's the only food I had one day. I was really hungry. It works surprisingly well.
Yeah.
Anybody that's tried them likes them. Convincing people to try them is not easy.
Well,
Well, it's kind of like Cheese Whiz on a Chips Ahoy.
my grandmother swore by.
Who do you have to convince to try that? That's just genius.
No, I'm not getting down like that.
Him, my wife, think I'm insane.
Really?
I'm not getting down Cheese Whiz on a Chips Ahoy.
Bro, I'm telling you.
I have been blind stoned
All right.
before, and I still would not eat that.
Well, that's where this came from.
I've been blind stoned once a bunch of times, and I'll have it every
That's where this came from 30 some odd years ago.
Okay, well, I mean,
As it was the only food there,
yeah.
and
Let's give her a try.
yeah, we'll do some.
So,
who's
is it 2 boxes per sandwich, or
Well, actually, I don't know with these. I use the little boxes because I always had the little boxes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of toasted open face, and there's extra raisins.
all right. I'll wait until everyone has their sandwiches in order to eat. But yeah, my grandmother used to put sliced American cheese on apple pie.
Yeah.
and then warm it up, and she swore by it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that one I can't get behind.
I've had it.
I tried
Take
it.
it or leave it.
I wasn't, but I mean, that's not so like, I don't know.
These are better toasted. The original way that I did them was I actually set the bread on top of the toaster instead of in the toaster
Yeah,
with the cheese on it. Excuse me, I just pushed the button down
right.
repeatedly. The toaster oven, which I'm sure made it into one of the frames on the camera at some point, made it a lot easier.
Yeah,
I'm not big on like toasted, so it's just got to get warm.
okay, I got
You
you.
can toast the outside. You throw it in a pan.
Right.
No butter. Butter doesn't work with this.
No,
I don't know why. It fights with the cheese. Fights with the raisins. Something.
you know what's awesome? Or grilled with butter on it.
Pop tarts.
That too.
Have you
Peanut
ever
butter
put-
and jelly.
Oh,
you
yeah.
ever put butter on a Pop Tart?
Yeah.
Roxy almost didn't speak to me for a week.
I couldn't stop saying
Because
it.
he never heard it.
Hmm.
And I sent him the clip. And she messaged me like a day later. He's still walking around the house singing it. But now he's inserting other random foods and objects into the song.
I've never heard the song, but I have tried butter on a Pop Tart.
It's so fucking good.
The song or the butter on the Pop Tart?
Yes.
Okay. But
you've never. I'm not going to play it and get sued by
Yeah.
Fox because.
I'll
Well,
Google
Fox is
it on
Disney
the way
now,
home.
so you'd get double sued.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
man,
going
I
to sue
shouldn't
us
have
for
said that.
talking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. But yeah,
They're
one,
going to sue me for going to Universal tomorrow.
one of my buddies actually suggested it to me. He's like, bro, it was back when I was hitting like 6,000 calories a day. I said something about eating peanut butter and jelly to make up the difference. He's like, you ever grilled your peanut butter and jelly with like butter on the outside of it? I was like, no, but I'm about to when I get home.
Well, my wife does toasted peanut butter sandwiches, which I can't figure out because I don't think peanut butter is a hot food. Peanut butter is a cold food.
I can get behind it with the jelly, but I don't like. I want to put the jelly on last, where the jelly stays cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be the only downside here is that y'all sandwiches are slightly warm, so the raisins are going to be warmed up. Raisins. But I mean, I haven't actually sat down and done the macros on the thing because this is long before I even cared about those.
Right. This was I need food to go in a hole.
It was, and then I started buying it because it's cheap. It's cheap, and these aren't even going to get toasted before I pull them back out of there. I'm hungry now.
Jeez.
However, I did realize that the Guinness are sitting over there. Would you like a Guinness Zero?
Sure.
Of course. Of course. So now I got to get back up again. Oh, nice.
Can we get sponsored by Guinness?
That'd be amazing.
I don't know. We're using American cheese, not Irish cheese.
Yeah.
Some Irish cheddar.
Oh, Irish cheese is so good.
Yeah,
I use Kerrygold for the Pop Tarts.
let's be
Oh,
honest. How many Irish are drinking non-alcoholic Guinness?
Oh, it's non-alcohol. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
It's non-alcoholic. Alcohol doesn't play well with my meds.
Ah, okay.
So if you didn't notice, there was a certain period in the middle of Bam's wedding where trip got a little different for a while.
I don't know because I was really different for a good bit of the wedding.
I was different the whole
He-
time.
He noticed it.
I noticed it.
And that was after the which I'm still trying to figure out how that happened. And I appreciate the love that you showed, Bam. When you poured shots for us this big
Yeah.
in rocks glasses.
Yeah.
Well, we just lost one.
Did both of them go?
No, we just lost the GoPro. I don't know. Maybe I had it set too high and the card filled up. But I don't have another card in my hand right now, so
And
But you
raisins
do
not
have a
much.
raisin and cheese
I
sandwich.
do have a raisin and cheese sandwich.
And a Guinness. All
And a
right.
Guinness.
Cheers. My T-Rex arms.
Now,
See it. damn sure eaten worse. I mean, I probably wouldn't go out of my way to make it, but if presented with that, I wouldn't be like, ew.
It works a lot better than you think it would.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was trying to think in my head what the taste going together would be like. It's nothing like that.
No.
It's surprising, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's amazing how expensive cheap food is anymore, though.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did splurge and go with the Wonder Bread because it's what it originally was on. Figured I'd bring it back to where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be like a solid 5 minutes of us just chewing.
I don't think it's gonna last that long. I mean, these are like 4-bite sandwiches, so
Mm-hmm.
gotta brush off. Peace among worlds. So yeah, I had cheese in the cupboard, and I had the little snack pack raisin things that my mother gave me in a grocery bag full of things. That was the last thing that got eaten because I'm really not a fan of raisins. Now, what I haven't tried is I haven't tried expanding on this. I have had some thoughts to it. Got some nice aged New York cheddar in there.
Mm.
I got some ocean spray craisins, which I am fairly addicted to.
Mm-hmm.
Those are good. I wonder how I'd go with like a pimento cheese.
Could be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's all sorts of directions it could go.
I mean, pimento's already off the beaten path of.
Are you looking
Cheese.
around for more?
I can only chew one side of my mouth right now because the temporary crown I got from my root canal cracked.
Mm.
Is it because of the ammonia?
No. No, it's because of a 700 something pound functional trainer hitting me in the face. Awesome.
Trying to figure out how to tie in a joke about having a strong face in there, but
This stupid head of mine takes a lot of punishment.
those Guinness are pretty good, huh? Can't really tell they're non-alcoholic.
After about 6 of them, I can. Because I'm still civil.
I'm not wild about alcohol to begin with, but with the meds, it just really doesn't pay.
I'm waiting to see what my liver enzymes come back as.
Jesus.
Did you do it the day after heavy lifting?
Yes. Every day's a heavy lifting.
No, I did it a day after like
A
we
rest
had
day.
No, actually, it was after heavy lifting. Damn it.
So I made that mistake once. I went in, I got my labs pulled day after deadlift day, max effort.
Mm-hmm.
They put me through about $2,000 worth of additional tests because they thought I was in liver failure
Oh, jeez.
because my enzymes are so high.
I told you about the time I got mine tested.
Yeah, you didn't have to get tested. Your fucking eyeballs were yellow. There's your test.
Yeah.
They just test by holding up a sheet of printer paper next to you.
How many shades of we're on the Gadsden?
That and my hematocrit levels were so high that my blood was the consistency of Heinz. It really was. It was great.
Well, this one's your turn to get up, and there's a little surprise for later, sitting right over on that box there.
Aha.
Mm-hmm.
Can we grab it now?
Yeah.
All right.
You might want to get some.
Oh, yeah.
You got some sandwich in your beard.
Yeah.
It's for later.
How was it today?
So I don't know. Like when I looked at C-reactive protein, mine was elevated, but yeah, I live with inflammation.
I am inflammation.
Yeah.
So you just take a bottle of Advil and just chug it.
You know, surprisingly, I don't take a whole lot other than my blood pressure meds. Most of yeah, sure. This time.
Your choice. A little
Alright.
bit lighter, a little bit
I'll go
darker.
with the more robusto.
Okay. Bam.
What we got?
You've had both of them, so
Yeah, I like both. I'm gonna go with this guy.
Okay.
Got to be different.
All right, we'll see if I can get the
I can't even remember what I was saying.
punch and the scissors. Talking about your C-reactive.
Oh yeah, C-reactive protein's high. And it's like, well, yeah, I've got a ruptured Achilles tendon. And yesterday was max effort chest day. Yeah, there's some inflammation there. Oh yeah. So medication wise, I take some stuff for my blood pressure, but other than that, I don't take anything for pain. But I tell people all the time, I don't deal with pain. I don't have back pain. I don't have, that first initial get out of the bed when everybody's like, oh, I bet you feel that in the morning. Actually, you'd be wrong. Now that is a ball and lighter. Can I get that cutter from you, please?
Yes, sir.
I do not like the punches.
Entirely optional.
Okay, there we go.
There's 3, so it'll go just about nuclear on you.
Oh, I'll just make a fucking mess everywhere. I may have fucked that up, but I'll do it.
It'll still smoke.
It will. Clean it as I go. Clean up my mess.
Maybe you want
So-
a mess.
So we were talking about the music, the hype up, the going too far, and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the other half of it is probably. I need to get back in front of the microphone. I guess the other half of it that's a little bit of a loaded topic, I guess, is the overall mental state during training and how that affects training. Not just at the lift or the whole thing overall. There's the days that you just don't feel like it. And how do you get to feeling like it?
Yeah.
Does it help? Doesn't it help? Which way does that swing, I guess?
So for me, if I can get in training when I've set aside time to train in my mind, there's never an issue.
Yeah.
It's when something happens and I get knocked off time and I was planning on training at 9 in the morning and now I'm 2 hours behind or 3 hours behind and okay, well it's noon and now I'm going to get to train. My attitude goes to shit at that point and it becomes just pure discipline, pure okay, you're fucking here. And it's bad attitude. It's having to claw back from a bad attitude. And, on the mental side of it, it's a lot of, I need to feel this right now. I need to go through this ordeal in this moment in order to be whole. A lot of it, I'll be honest, a lot of it is my logbook. I hate leaving a gap in my logbook when it comes to the other day is a perfect example. I'm doing 30 total reps as I progress up in 5% increments. So it started at 5 sets of 6 at 70%. And then this past week, it was 6 sets of 5 at 75% for my main lift on deadlifts as I'm trying to build that back up. Well, I got through set 4 and it was just shit. Okay. 5 sets of 5, that's 25. That's, 5 sets of 5, that's a good number. So I go back and I do my 5th set. And I stand there. I'm like, am I going to let one set? Am I seriously going to write in my book, 1 set stopped me. Nobody knows it's supposed to be 6 by 5 except for me. But that accountability of having to put it on paper right in front of me. And actually, now I can sit there, I can ditch all my accessory work, I can ditch everything else. What I cannot ditch is the main movement. Once I hit whatever it is that I set out to do on my main movements, whether it's 5-3 or a single RM, and then 2 back off sets, or if it's, 30 total reps at a certain percentage, or however it is. Once I've satisfied that, everything else, I just need to take the rest of the day off, or I'm good to proceed now. Once I hit that main movement. Beyond that, to not put what I need to put in that logbook on my main movement, I can't do it. I cannot sit there and bring myself to write down, I was too much of a bitch to close my reps. Because then there's the accountability. Did you get hurt? No. Why didn't you do them? I didn't feel like doing them. Oh, so you're happy being mediocre. Because that's what leads to mediocre. Not doing what you need to do in order to get better. Well, no, I want to get better. Okay, so in order to get better, you need to do this. And that's something that, I've logbook for me is such a huge thing, and I got away from it for a long time. And when I went back into my experiment with doing that dog crap training, that was one of the big things is every week you're beating the logbook. Every time you go in there, you're beating the logbook. So, that one, if you're not familiar with it, whoever's watching, it's 3 sets of 20 on 5 to 6 exercises for the day. Ascending weights. So your first set is lighter, your second set is medium weight. Your final set is 2 failure. You induce failure. If it's too light, you do tempo reps for the last 4 to 5 reps. If it's, if you're doing it right, about the time you get to the 17th rep, you've got to stop, hold that weight, and take 5 breaths, and then close the. You might have to do that twice. You might have to stop at 15. That made me a tougher individual in the gym training, just doing 4 weeks of that, because you just sit there and it's like, I've got to put it in my logbook. I know what goes in my logbook. What goes in my logbook is this set at this weight for 20, this set at this weight for 20, this set at this weight for 20. And that might be 18/2, 15/3/2 to catch the rest, whatever. But forcing myself into that actually made me more resilient in training too. I think everybody should do 20 rep sets. Not all the time.
Yeah.
So
So you're going in, and whether you feel like it or not, you're doing it.
Yes.
Either way, mental state isn't playing in. You find it easier if you're in a better state.
I mean, of course it's easier, but at the end of the day, it's.
But does it change through?
It depends on how it goes, and it depends on what type of day. If it's a rep day, my mental state's not going to change. If I'm having a bad day and it's a rep day, my mental state is going to get worse throughout because I fucking hate rep days. I want to get there, hit a 3 rep max or a single or whatever, and be out on that main movement. Do a couple back off sets and then move on to accessory. That's when I'm having my good days.
yeah. So I used to be very much the same way. I mean, even when we first started training together, good day, bad day, hell with it, let's go do it. Since dealing with the head trauma and all the chemical imbalance shit that's come with it and all the mood shit too, I have found that if I'm having a bad day, I need to stay out of the gym. Because if I'm having a bad day, then my lifts are going to be absolute dog shit, which is going to make my headspace worse, which is going to in turn carry over to the next day and it's just going to spiral. So now I'm mostly having average to good days. But when I have the bad day now, I stay out of the gym. I just take that day, deal with my shit. And then the next day, if I'm better, I hit it and I'm fine. And I'll hit what I feel I need, hit the numbers I feel like I need to hit, usually what I set out to do. But yeah, if I try to just push through the bad day and just train to, get it out of my system or whatever, I'm going to get hurt.
I think I'm halfway in between, not just physically sitting here in the table between the two of you, but I find it's tricky because we could devolve into a psych discussion because I don't know anybody's on a level playing field at this point. But, certainly there's stuff going on in everybody's life, but that part aside, I look at it and I love the old therapy versus therapeutic aspect.
Yeah.
I think there's bits of both in it.
Yeah, for sure.
But this literally, we are sitting in my happy place,
Right.
smoking cigars. I don't know if it could be much more my happy place.
Right. Yeah,
Unless
definitely.
maybe we were also lifting at the same time. But friends sitting here with cigars in the gym that I built specifically to have some place to go and be happy.
Yeah.
Now, that said, just like everybody, there's up days, there's down days, and everything else. I picked up on what you were saying. There are days I'm worried that I'm not going to be focused enough to unrack a squat, and what happens then.
Yeah.
Because the focus for me, we're not talking about, light weights. We're not talking about, selectorized machines where the worst that's going to happen is going to snap you
Right.
forward a little bit. This is squish type stuff.
Yeah.
Now, there's some days where there's just not a chance in hell anything good is going to come out of it.
Right.
I know it's going to be worse, just like you were saying. Those are fairly few, and they're usually things happen within the last couple of hours. It's not like the whole day was that bad. It's something specific, and sometimes I'll give it a little bit more time and then give it a shot. The rest of the days where I'm just like, man, I just don't feel like this. I'm not feeling great. I'm not in the right mindset, whatever. What I do is I actually come out here and I will start warming up. Probably about 90% of the time, it brings me around.
Right.
And I'm able to get going. There's very few days where I just say, nope, fuck it. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And, in that case, what I do is I just shift my whole program by a day.
Yeah.
So I'll be one day later for a rest day. I'll be one day later for, whatever day. I'll have to do one on the weekend. But I still come out and I give it that shot. Now, the other side of it is we're talking the extremes here.
Right.
That's all we've talked about so far. But the kind of in-betweens, and you started touching on it, where you're like, well, I got to put it in the book, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
On those discipline days, I'm going to call them,
Yeah.
where you're kind of pushing yourself through it, do you really feel like you're gaining from that or progressing from that? Or are you going through the motions and not setting yourself back? Or
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, at least it was for me because, there would be the discipline push through day, and maybe the performance wasn't as good as it could have been, but getting it done and getting that sense of accomplishment helped mitigate the bad day, the bad mood, the bad hour, whatever. What I'm running into, or what I've been running into, and I'm able to kind of mitigate it a little bit better now, and it's also part of why I hired the coach that I did to help me with these kind of things, is on the bad days when the brain is just overloaded and it's already bruised and battered and fucking scrambled, it affects my equilibrium. And you've seen when I've, pulling heavy or whatever, when I was still really post-concussive bad, getting under that kind of tension will cause me to be dizzy and I'll fall over. Last thing I want to do is do that and hit my head again,
Yeah.
So those are that's why I absolutely have to back off, because if I go out there on the bad day, that's how bad the performance is going to be. Like you said, I could be unracking the bar, have, I don't know, nothing, 315 on my back, nothing crazy, but then I, take a dive
Yeah.
Now what? You know, what's that going to lead to? That's going to be a domino effect of injury and everything else.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. Well, and that's why those days I'll wave off too. Is I've got I don't know where I sit right now. I know I shouldn't be doing anything that I do, and if the doctors had their way, I'd just sit in bubble wrap and watch TV for the rest of my life. But the last time I had a scan, I came out of the tube, and that's I don't think I mentioned it last time when we were talking a little bit about injury on another conversation we had. But I quit going in for scans on my back because the MRI machine causes herniated discs. You're not going to fucking convince me it doesn't. Every time I go into that goddamn tube, I'd come back out, they'd say, you have another herniated disc. Quit putting me in a fucking tube.
It's the magnets pulling everything out of alignment.
It's got to be. Every time I went in the thing, I came back out. The last time I came back out was 7. That was more than I went in with.
Yeah.
Tell me it's not the
Well,
tube.
that's why I stopped going to the doctor for the longest time, because every time I went, I left, I was sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm starting out with that kind of. I'm still smelling that fucking ammonia.
Was it the ammonia or the sauerkraut fart?
No, this was the ammonia. This was a little sharper.
I'm getting itchy.
I mean, I'm starting out with that many herniated discs.
Mhm.
What's a 400 or 500 pound squat going to do to me on a day when I'm not focused enough to have my core solidly braced?
So here's the thought on that. If you herniate all the discs, then none of them are herniated, because they'll all be back in line.
I think he's got a point.
Thank you.
I'm not thinking so. I don't think.
In the name of science.
Yeah, we're not doctors.
But I play one on TV.
I just want to throw that out again. Not a very good one.
Dr. Nick.
So
Oh
there's.
God, he's the worst.
I mean, there's those days.
TRT doctor. There are those days, and I think that's the risk reward conversation. I can, as I'm recovering from a ruptured Achilles, I can say I'm ignorant of any major structural issues that I have beyond that at this moment. I don't have any safety concerns.
Let's have him do a box jump.
Fuck you. Why do it one-legged? You're gonna fucking.
You ain't got a choice at this point, there, pal.
I almost can jump with my right leg.
But so I don't. Those are definitely considerations you have to take in. But it's. I one of the things that I have an issue with is it's the other side of the scale, and it's people that just want to give themselves an out. It's the guys that are always, their CNS is overtrained, and I really need a deload, and I need a back off, and I need a rest day. I know it's not programmed. It's like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Your 185 bench is not enough to overload your CNS. I guarantee you at 22 and healthy, you can bench 225 day in and day out for a week, and you're not going to overload your CNS. Now you might overload your shoulders and other things, but you're not hitting neural shutdown.
No. I mean, think about us training 10, 15 years ago. Like, the term CNS didn't exist.
No.
The term overtraining only existed in bodybuilding magazines. Like,
Well,
we train like assholes every day.
I think the CNS thing's out. I mean, I get it. It is possible.
Yeah.
And to your point, yeah, that light of an effort. I just did 2 heavy ass deadlift days, not back to back, but pretty damn close.
Mm-hmm.
I did tweak something in the middle of the second one, so it wasn't as full as it could have been, but I definitely feel it. And if that's an indicator,
Yeah.
I'm down 40 something points from where I was, interestingly enough, during a period where I was injured and not lifting a whole lot. So I was completely recovered.
Right.
My battery was topped off.
Yeah.
So in that's the whole, I get that because that's the delayed transformation where you back off going into a meet, right? I mean, your last week going into a meet or a competition, you shouldn't be touching anything but light accessory prehab, rehab type stuff. Your last big pulls or squats should be 2 weeks out in order to let yourself recover and have that delayed transformation so that you get that. I'm not convinced you need to be fully recovered in between. There's, you had the Barbarian brothers back in the day. There's no such thing as overtraining. There's only under eating and under sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
under recovering. So yeah, if you eat like an asshole, if you're not sleeping, if you're only sleeping 2 to 3 hours a night because of whatever is
Just
going on,
just call me out. Go ahead.
because of whatever's going on, then yeah, I could see you running into those types of issues. But I'm not convinced that you're not going to continue to make gains in the gym, conditioning even your CNS to respond to that, because that's the thing that everybody forgets is every bit of you is being conditioned in this. It's not just the muscle tissue. It's not just the soft tissue, the ligaments, the tendons. It's your body. It's your CNS. It's the feel. It's everything about it is being conditioned in the gym so that you can perform at peak performance.
See, that's why the Jack 3D original formula back in the day, that we benefited so much from that because all the chemicals that were in it just bypassed all that CNS bullshit. You're just straight adrenaline fight or flight mode.
But again, you're not talking about overtraining. You're talking about under recovering.
Right, but is there overtraining or is there under recovery?
It depends.
I mean,
I fully believe that you can overtrain.
I believe you can.
I don't think anybody that said that they've overtrained that we've talked to that said that they overtrained in the last who knows how long actually overtrained.
I know one guy that overtrained doing farmer's walks.
That was injured. That wasn't overtrained.
Well, overtraining could lead to injury.
That's under recovery.
It was under recovery.
It was under recovery.
Yeah, I had only recovered to 11 steps, not 12.
But to pull it back in, where does the mental state of where you're at that time factor into that?
See, I think that dovetails into what type of programming are you doing?
Yeah.
If you are doing a max effort type, a more traditional conjugate, a Bulgarian type, to where you're going to be working at 90+%, then I think it's going to factor in more. If you're not touching above 90%, I'm going to have a hard time with the, outside of the extenuating circumstances of overall life situation.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to make my life worse by going to the gym today because of X, Y, or Z. Sure, your circumstance to where you have equilibrium issues, you have a genuine physical condition that leads to certain things. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not touching above 80 to 85% of your weight, if you're not going above 90%, I just have a hard time that you're really getting into that unless you're doing a ludicrous amount of volume. If you're getting
German volume training,
right,
like that,
if you're getting into that, like squatting every day or things like that, then yeah, I can see the argument. But unless you're doing something specialized like that where it's super high volume, or you're going to 90+% intensities, I don't see a CNS issue. You can still program like an asshole. You can set yourself up to get hurt. You can set up to where you're overstraining tissues and things like that. From a CNS point of view, I'm not sold on it. I don't know what the science is like on it, but just.
Well, I think when it comes to CNS, it also depends on the person.
Yes.
And what does your mental conditioning look like? What is your general mental state? Are you conditioned to deal with tough situations?
Yeah, but you're almost talking about two different sides of it, though. You're talking about that ties both of the halves of the conversation back together. The CNS, that we're talking about isn't a conscious piece. There isn't even a subconscious piece.
Right.
It just exists.
Right.
Underneath
It's the
all of
motor. Yeah, it's the wiring to the motors.
Right. So, and then we're at the sympathetic, parasympathetic, all the different big words that just went over my head, and everybody's watching because we start getting into how the body actually works from that aspect.
Yeah.
Which comes back to what we did to begin. If we jack up the CNS for a minute, do you get more out of it?
Right.
Well, the other half that we were looking at and where we were saying, which actually what I used to do on those bad days was go in and do the program, but just knock 10 or 20% off of what I was supposed to do just to make it where I could get the motion in. But at that point, if the program said do 80% of whatever, and I'm doing 60, I'm not getting the effect out of that training I'm getting something.
You're
I'm
not
moving.
getting optimal
I'm
effect.
not getting the optimal effect.
But I would argue that no training program has ever been written that is truly optimal for you.
Right. But on that day, the benefit physically
Right.
didn't factor in as much as the benefit of getting through it and feeling better by doing it.
Yes.
To where that workout was therapeutic at that.
And I would still argue that even doing the lighter weight, you're still getting some benefit from that physically.
Right.
You're not getting, yes, it's not in line. It's not peaking you the way that you might want to, depending on how the program's, all that. Get that.
But
It's
you're
still
moving shit.
right. It's
Yeah.
still better than not doing anything.
Better than sitting on the couch.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like
I guess
Shannon
what-
used to say, moving dirt.
Yeah.
I guess where I was going and the point of that was by doing something, how is affecting, because we started out talking about how your mood and overall mental state was affecting the training for the day.
Right. But I honestly think
And
that your mental state can
got the
also
other.
affect, your CNS.
Oh yeah, if you're drained.
Yeah, if you're
Drained
drained,
is drained, yeah.
or if you're dealing with an amount of stress that you're not used to dealing with, then your CNS is going to be taxed more.
You don't want to squeeze a thing again, do you?
But so when we think about like this new generation of power lifters that are coming in and they talk about overtraining and CNS and all this, well, they're putting themselves in a physical amount of stress that they've never dealt with in their entire life, because a lot of these kids they've never pushed motor yard, they've never done anything physically taxing. Because let's be honest, pushing a lawnmower when you're 7 years old, it takes some effort.
It's conditioning.
So we've been doing that our entire lives.
Yeah.
Whereas they've been playing Minecraft on a freaking iPad
Yeah.
for half their life.
Well, that ties back to Tate and Blakely talking about it's the hardest you've ever worked that
For you.
know.
Right.
Yeah.
The hardest you've ever worked is the hardest you've ever worked.
Yeah.
But if your threshold is not that your CNS is going to be taxed and drained quicker than someone else,
Yeah. And I would actually say that is part of programming for people, is before you throw them into a program that does deal in max weights and go to that point fairly often, you almost need to build in at least a 3 to 4 week conditioning wave
Yeah.
to bring them in there, to bring them up. Because yes, okay, for the purposes of saying overtrained, as to you've trained to the point to where you're now having deleterious effects on your training and you may not be able to execute as well as you could under an efficient, fully recovered state. Absolutely. Absolutely. Your CNS is overtrained. Good, because it's still dog shit. You still need to bring it up further.
Yeah.
Yeah. If once you start getting to a level, to different levels, then yes. And this is all known. Like heavy deadlifts, you should not deadlift heavier than once every week for a lot of people. And for some people, it's every 2 weeks, because the CNS load that's taken on a heavy deadlift is really high. That's why you'll see people peak into it and then come out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas, when somebody says, oh, well, these are my numbers, I've been training for 2 years. Yeah, my CNS is really fried. Good. It needs to be fried more.
Yeah.
So that you can become more resilient. Everybody wants to work in this optimal way to where they're always living their best life now. And it's like, that's not how this works. Don't just, you don't just want to do it in the most advantaged position and an advantaged way that you can do it. Do it in a disadvantaged way.
Yeah.
Do it so that you build yourself up to be more resilient. Do it, and through all of your systems. That's like,
Which is essentially like what I'm having to do right now for my situation.
right.
Is I have to, I know there's a line. So I have to find where that line is and be a half step below it.
Right.
But that pushes it.
Yes.
And every week, every 2 weeks, whatever, maybe it goes a little further.
Right.
But maybe next week, because of whatever, it's here instead of here.
Right.
Well, that's okay too, because I can still 95% it, push it a little further, and it helps.
Yeah.
So even when moving forward, a step back, it's still progress from where I was a month ago.
Yeah.
You know.
And this is also a great time to bring in specialty bars.
Yeah.
The disadvantage lift even further, or vary lifts so that you get more of a response with less weight.
That's what that wall is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
100. I mean, that bar with the the American camber bar right beneath
Yeah.
it. That on bench press or inclines to where you're taking in that extra range of motion. Yes, you will never push the weight, and you should never even try to attempt the weight that you can on a flat bar. Taking something like that and incorporating it into your training, not a full deload, but putting it in intelligently, actually allows you to have a working deload on a lot of your systems, but to continue to do it, I mean, that brings in a stretch hypertrophy reflex that's amazing. One of the things that I've had to go back and do is reintroduce greater range of motion, like incline benches. You see a lot of people when they incline bench, they stop here. Me, I've taken incline. Okay, I'm going to do this as a more disadvantaged lift, and I'm going to use it to implement more range of motion. So now on my incline benches, I come down and I actually touch my chest on every press. So that way I'm doing it in disadvantage. And when I do that, like this past week, I did max effort on a football bar, flat bench. All right. This shoulder is screwed. Good bit of inflammation in it still right now. Cannot touch that lift again for probably 2 weeks. But I can go to an incline press, and I can do an incline press for 100 pounds less and still get a very, very strong training stimulus in that by varying it up. That's one of the things I think people, when people look at conjugate training and they just look at the templates and they're like, oh, this is written for assholes. But when you actually begin to understand, when you actually get in there and you start to understand some of the beauty of being able to implement a specialty bar lift for something like that, so that you can back off, you can still make it a max effort. You can do a max effort incline press with a flat bar, doing that full range of motion, and it's still going to be less strain on the system. It's still going to allow you to recover from what you just did the week before and work that in. Perfect example. Okay, full range deadlifts. Yeah, maybe once every 2 to 3 weeks sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do it from an elevated position. You can do things that actually allow you to still attack that lift. And from the elevated position, you can actually overload it. You can do it from a deficit. You can change it up and make yourself do sumo just because you know that you need to actually build your hips
I don't think I
when
can.
nobody's looking.
Yeah. I don't think I can.
You can. You can. Safety squat bar, front squat, all those things. To actually be able to implement those things in.
With conjugateness, that's the joke about the PRs at Westside. With it's a PR for a cambered football bar bench press on a Friday evening after eating at Bob Evans, during a full moon.
Yeah,
like all those little things. That's like Dave Tate with the this reverse band spider bar squat to a high box.
yes.
He's the best in the world at the lift that he made up.
Right.
But yeah, it all comes from that.
Right. It comes from actually being able to continue to go to do max effort work. But
Just finding different ways to do it.
right, when you reach to a certain level, continuing to do that week after week after week, you're going to have deleterious effects.
Right.
It's going to catch up with you. And Louis says it all the time. He said it all the time. Rest in peace. Law of accommodation.
Probably
Law of
still says it.
accommodation. And you've got to change that out. But that's just, I see a lot of people, and I'm not trying to be gatekeeperish on this, and I'm not trying to be a dick about it, but moving insubstantial amounts of weight for their age, their body condition, and everything else, who bitch about being overtrained.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, good.
Yeah.
Good. Overtrain. So that way your system can now become accustomed to a greater load. It's the same thing that I talk about when on overloading any movement, Good. If you want to deadlift 600 pounds, get in and rack pull 650 so your body knows what it's like to stand there with 650 at the top. Because when you go to actually do a rack pull with 650 and you get used to doing that a couple of times, when you go to actually break the ground with 600, your body has some reference for how that actually feels.
Yeah.
You're not just going to go, oh shit, this is heavy.
Well, it's like, when we were training 18-inch deadlifts on an axle every week for 3 months?
Yeah.
Well, I got really strong at that variation.
Right.
But then when we didn't have to train that anymore and we went back to pulling from the floor on a regular deadlift bar, I lost a step, because my body had, my musculature had changed to adapt to that.
Right. Just to that without implementing the floor back into it.
Yeah, because for whatever reason, we just didn't.
Well, no, the way we were running variations though was 1 week, just your lifting straps.
Right.
Next week, lifting straps and belt. Next week, suit, straps down.
Yeah.
Then next week, straps up.
Yeah.
And then you could run through those and you could work on that, move those up. But you could consistently watch your raw numbers come up with your suited numbers. As your suited numbers went up, your raw numbers went up. As your raw numbers went up, your suited numbers went up.
Mm-hmm.
But you're introducing just enough novelty into the lift so that it stays fresh.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I have very little patience for people who bitch about, overtraining, CNS fried, CNS fatigue, all that, because it's just, I'm sorry, but if you want to continue to push and push your limits, your CNS has to actually be, because if you're bitching about CNS being fried as a male deadlifting 315 pounds for reps, how do you think your CNS is going to feel if eventually you get to where you're deadlifting 600 pounds for reps?
It's a different conversation, though, because I don't know that person would get to 600 pounds for reps.
Might not.
I was just looking for it. I don't know where it went. I've got an RPE 10 bucket around here somewhere.
Yeah.
You haven't seen the RPE 10 bucket?
No.
I learned that from watching Train Your Ass Off and Dave Tate's stuff.
He had an RPE 10 bucket.
Well, he's got Dave's bucket.
Yeah.
He's got Dave's puke bucket.
Yeah.
But yeah, RPE 10 requires a bucket.
Yeah. It does.
Mm-hmm.
And see,
I have the bucket full of kitty litter out here because I will push that hard.
Yeah.
On days where I feel I can, but I will push that hard. I've grabbed a bucket a few times.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Until you're pushing yourself to that limit, I don't know that you can ever claim. That's why I hate RPE. I hate RIR.
Yeah.
I hate those because they're so subjective.
Mm-hmm.
And that was RPE like 9.5, and it's like,
well, that's your opinion, man.
Really? Because I watched the lift. Yeah. You're just like, I watched the lift. You kept clean form throughout. Not once did I see any part of that lift technically start to break down. At no point was I concerned for the structural integrity, and it flew up.
That's like you pulling in the suit when you felt like it was, that felt like an 8, but I'm sitting here going, that was a 6. And what did your coach say? Like maybe a 4?
Yeah. Well, that was without the suit on the deadlift bar.
Yeah, that's right.
When I was working on a PR that I hadn't trained for or tried for in a couple of years.
But when we were training the suit with the axle,
yeah, it's the same thing.
The same thing.
I thought it was. And then I finally got to a point. Now my limit for a PR, I'll keep going on PR attempts until I smell blood. We know you can sprout. Stop a whole damn static monsters for 10 minutes while we have to find the towels and shit.
Oh,
but
fuck. That was on warm-ups too, is when that started.
Yeah.
I've never gotten to that point.
Well, I think Superdraw took me to that point.
Yeah.
I can say though that any of the PRs where there was not anything left on the table from me, I've sat down, little speckles start floating around in there, and I've sat down and smelled blood. And I know I've pushed hard enough at that point. The catch with the suit is that's 300 pounds.
Yeah.
And then just all the way up. So
Yeah.
I don't know where that actually went to. Now, I've grabbed the rack a few times
Yeah.
standing up. But on the same note as I like the RPE or the RIR, it sucks. It's hard to deal with. It's hard to mess with. We had a lot of conversations about the difference in perception of both of us for what they are. But I like I guess it's one of the two ways to self-regulate for the day. So if I'm having a shit day and I have to do RPE 8 may be 10 or 20% down from last week, next week, or even tomorrow,
Yeah.
but I'm still getting in what I can do for the day.
Yeah.
Right.
The other half of that, which I really loved, and I know it's in a ton of programs, but I came across it in Alzer's Dark Horse, was that self-regulation at the beginning. So you run up to a certain number of rep max.
Yeah.
3, 5, or occasionally a 1 rep. But you run up to that rep max.
Yeah.
Once. And then you back off to whatever percentage it is for the day. Whatever I can pull for that 3, whatever that top 3 is, that's as hard as I have to work that day.
Yeah.
And that auto regulates based on how
Yes.
not just CNS, but how my overall mood,
Yeah.
how my feeling is that day. If it was a shit day at work and I'm just run straight into the ground,
Yeah.
happens.
You've been working,
Awful.
2 weeks, 12 hours, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And kids are screaming at the house, wife's not,
Yeah.
whatever. And you just feel like dog shit. And it's finally caught up with you. Then your 1 RM for that day might only be 85% of what your real 1 RM is. And then you're basing out. But yeah.
I like that
Yeah.
auto regulation in the program.
Yeah.
Whether it's RIR, I never figured out RIR for shit. Now percentages, the flip side, because we keep coming back to CNS. We keep
Right.
coming back to the training effect of the volume and the weight. But the one piece that we I don't want to say, I don't know how to put it. We keep missing the piece of that 1 rep max. And if we're working up to that, like we just said for auto regulation, my 1 rep max 2 weeks ago was, what was it, 50 pounds under what it was a month before that,
Right.
that day.
Yeah.
A week later, I came back out and my 1 rep was, well, more than that, and probably was more than I pulled that day. But on that day,
Right.
right? So where that plays back and forth with how you're feeling for the day.
Mhm.
At the same time, with what you mentioned, as far as coming in and not spiraling down because of how you did. If you're going off of a percentage, that percentage is off the best you did at the best point, and the best time, and the best moment of your last whatever
Right.
training cycle.
And that's
So
something.
if I base all my percentages off of the top number I pulled on the deadlift, even though 95% or 90% of that I've only pulled to that point,
Yeah.
does that mean that the rest of my lifts are now going to be technically too high of a percentage?
Right.
See,
That's something that I'm working on now. That I'm kind of implementing, not just in training, but just life in general. Is every day, just do what my best is that day. Don't worry about what my best was yesterday, and don't worry about what my best is going to be tomorrow. Just focus on doing my best today. Now that might be 60% less of what it was yesterday. It might be 30% higher, and tomorrow could be better. Tomorrow could be worse. None of that shit matters. It's just the right now.
Did I send you that 40% meme?
No.
This is a friend of mine posted. I thought I sent it over to you. It said if you have 40% to give today and you give 100%, or if you give 100% but you only had 40% to give, but you gave 40%, you still gave 100%.
Yeah.
So it's right along with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that ties back in with not doing a percentage of a 1 rep
Right.
that you set optimally.
Well, see, and that's the other thing too, is I think you have to be selective about if you're going to program off of a 1 rep max, I think you need to program like for like.
Yeah.
So, the Bulgarians, they had their meat maxes that they would train off of. And then Abajev is, he goes back and forth depending on who you talk to, when they train with him, when they talk to him or whatever. But I think Wendler actually hit on a really good idea in having a training max versus a true 1 rep max.
Yeah.
So like with with the programming that I do now for people, it's I go off of a 3 rep max.
Yeah.
All your percentages are based off of a 3 rep max because a 3 rep max to me, when it's a 3 rep max, that's something you should be able to go in there unless things are just completely fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to go in there any day, warm up, hit a single on your 3 rep max, and walk out.
Your 3 reps also something you can test on a fairly regular basis
Yes.
without grinding yourself into the
Yes.
dirt.
And so that's one of the things I like to do now is when I'm programming percentages, I program it off that 3 rep instead. And then every 4 weeks or so, you come back and you retest that. And you just see, how's this working? What do I need to do?
Well, a lot of what I'm doing right now, because I'm prepping for Miami, is I'm basing the events that's a set weight.
Right.
I'm basing my training off of percentages of what that weight is going to be for that particular event. Now, with something like the log, which is going to be max weight, I'm working off of.
I hate that I'm gonna miss that too.
I'm working off of what my 1 rep max that I tried 2 weeks ago was.
Yes.
So because I know that's where I am right now, not where I was 2 years ago, static monsters, whatever. That would be ideal, but
you're not ideal right now.
right.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things you have to build into your programming is some auto regulation. Some if you're going off of straight up rep work off of a percentage, then don't take that percentage be a 1 rep max. Take it as a training max. Deload it some. If you make it off of a 1 rep meat max, do 80% of that. Give yourself some grace because that's not going anywhere. You're not going to lose that by taking 10 pounds off of your lift and instead of training at 200 this week, training at 190 because you deloaded, you derated
Yeah.
10, 20%. That's not going to go anywhere. I get aggravated because you see people that are like, this is optimal at this percentage and this. You don't fucking know. Nobody knows. That's the thing is,
Well,
people-
it's just different for everyone.
right. People
it's
want
one
to
of those it
pretend like
depends things.
there's this optimal program that exists for you out there, and if you just find the right coach, he can write the and it doesn't exist. The optimal program that you will run, if you are fortunate, is the last one that you ever run before you quit lifting. If you're intelligent, you make notes over years and you learn about yourself because you learn what you respond to in different lifts.
Right. But as
So
a beginning or intermediate lifter, and we see it all the time in the groups, what program can I run that's going to be best for this? This is like, well, the one you're going to do, the one you're going to follow through on, the one that you're going to
Compliance.
stick to, that's going to be the best one.
yeah. Yeah. Strongman, it's a little bit trickier. Powerlifting, it's easy because it's 3 lifts that you're going to do for a 1 rep max.
For the rest of your life.
Yeah. Strongman, it's a little bit trickier because, in between, you do have to bring up different components and you have to play with those different components. And how are you going to do that? How are you going to address, 60-second endurance in this or in this, being able to do reps, being able to do this for distance. You just got to fortify yourself to actually be able to handle a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of different ways that you can get into doing like some really neat things to implement and to program around to meet up those events. If you're going to have a rep event, this many reps, take Europa last year when I did that. We had a yoke press. My class, it was 225 for reps. Okay, the day that I cannot press 225 overhead damn near cold is the day I just don't want to be a strong man anymore. I don't want to compete. I'm sorry. I've become that person. So for me, I didn't have to get my strength up. I had to get my rep work up.
Yeah.
So I would do things like I would overload it. So I would train at 245 to 255. And then I would, let's do 4 rounds of this.
Yeah.
A minute. Let's see what we can do. And I actually got to where I think I got 13 on that,
Mm-hmm.
12 or 13, which has impressed me getting more than 6 reps.
He was well into like stage 3 cardio.
Yeah, I mean, I was saw like Lance Armstrong and things like
Just wait until we get the Monarchs over here,
Oh no.
and then we can do some testing and
Yeah.
see where that's at. That's going to be, you didn't even hear about that one yet.
No, I have no idea what that is other
Probably
than
gonna bring those on Tuesday.
Venture Brothers character. The Mighty Monarch.
This is going to be fairly measured. You got to pass yet because your Achilles is still healing.
Okay.
So somebody at this wonderful store, which outfitted most of the building that we're sitting in.
Why does all this stuff look familiar?
Yeah. Well, at some point there'll be a banner behind me, maybe.
Yeah, I gotta order
This
that.
place. Yeah. Anyway, I saw a post on Refit the other day, and I instantly recognized what it was, and I instantly sent a message over that said, "I need this.
Mine.
I need this. You have more than one. I don't care. I need this." There is a pair of Monarchs, an 827 and 828E, which is the exact bike used for the Wingate cycle. So the Wingate test, which is what's the simplest explanation I can remember? It's an anaerobic threshold or an anaerobic capacity test. So basically, you drop a percentage of your body weight on the resistance, you hit it for 30 seconds as hard as you possibly can, then you get a number, and that number ranks you as far as that capacity, that output.
And I've known this is coming, and that's the true reason why I've been doing this cut.
Percentage of your body weight on there.
So the way
Is
that
it
the
rated properly for some of us at this table.
yeah, these are actual, they're $3,800 bikes, so they're clinic rated. They're the same ones I used down in UF when I was doing the testing down there. You weigh, and then it's a percentage of that. You get on, you do a warm up. That weight is dropped just for a test for a second or two. It's pulled back up. You finish your warm up. Timer hits, weight drops. Everybody, and it's written in the instructions. Everybody there screams at you as loud as they can and encourages you as much as you can, and you put everything you have into it for 30 seconds straight. Then the clock stops. You can keep going so that your heart doesn't collapse.
Right.
And there's math that spits out from the computer what that rating is. So I decided I needed this here so that we could test and work on things and progress as a point of measurement,
Yeah.
empirical data.
Empirical data.
And I figured it'd be fun to put him through it.
Yeah.
I mean, I paid to do it, so.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it sucks being the little brother at the table. You know, you two fuckers, like, God.
Yeah. I'm not.
So as much as it cost me to do
You've
it
done
last
enough.
time, I can buy this stuff and do it here.
Right.
It's a fairly straightforward test. The other one that I have yet
All
to
it cost was
purchase,
doing some upholstery and
we weren't going to discuss this anymore. I'm still.
those pads.
It hurts here.
Dude, I will tell you, they were so over the moon excited. They loved how they turned out. But it's one of those charter schools. They're used to not having anything. So.
Yeah. I'm not happy with how the upholstery job came out.
To the point to where Roxy was messing with him, saying, "This is going to keep you up all night, isn't it?" And then he messaged the next day, "It kept me up all night."
Yeah, it was tough enough, and then she planted the seed.
Yeah.
So
She's good at that.
But yeah, the only component of that I did not pick up yet is the lactic test.
Okay.
So we get to stab fingers and run the test. And I do want to pick up a tester because that was one of the interesting things, completely unrelated to anything we've been talking about so far,
Yeah.
that I found from the testing that I did do when I actually felt athletic. Because I don't feel fucking athletic right now.
I would be genuinely curious. So my prediction is it doesn't take me very much to go into an anaerobic state at all.
Well, that test doesn't measure the anaerobic state.
Okay.
VO2 max does, and I do not have the funds available. If somebody wants to send me a kit, we will put it on here, test it, do everything I want to do. I don't have $8,000 The VO2 max test is really where they find your anaerobic threshold.
Okay.
So it's going to find. I'm just curious. Oh,
Checking.
It's going to find where you cross that line,
Yeah.
where you're at. And doing the testing found it was really neat. It probably doesn't mean anything to me anymore because I'm completely not that same athlete. They were able to give me, okay, work in this range for this much time, this many days a week, and it should start shifting it higher to where I could keep that aerobic threshold higher and higher and higher. So at the time, what we found was when I hit about 140 was really that kind of line.
Yeah.
So all the work they had me do was right in that range. But I had it and I knew what it was, so I could work from it. And that's an absolute because that was a tested thing.
Right.
Leading right into the training. Now, what I want to do here is to find the other half of it, which, based on the assumption from those doctors, from some other folks I've spoken with, the assumption is how I trained and the programming I was doing that led up to that for a couple of years. When we did that, we did the Wingate cycle first, which
I like the little.
well, that way I could cut it out.
Yeah.
I've been holding that fucker for about 5 minutes waiting for you to finish the
If you
last
cut that
one.
out, I'm going to be very upset. I'm just saying.
I wish you would cut that out.
I just love that it's shooting towards him and not towards me.
Well, it's because of the. So I'm sitting face towards him right now because of the
So it's ricocheting off the seat and shooting
hold
right
the
up
dick
his nose.
string, so I can't sit on the other leggy comfortable. Do I need to turn the exhaust on?
Get him the Hellfire salts.
No, we're returning back.
Hey, squeeze that thing right
I'm curious.
Now you can't cut it out.
How anabolic is Tripp's ass rip? 131. Catabolic.
It was definitely deleterious.
Yes.
All right, so now that I'm editing this back in,
It's amazing with the magic of film how that happens.
magic of film. Right?
Yeah.
You do the fingers. Well, who owns them now? Who are we gonna get sued by for that one?
No, that's fair use. We
Is
didn't
it?
show their
Yeah, I
we
think-
didn't show their likeness or image.
Commentary.
And it's owned by Comcast anyway, so I think we're good. They're too busy getting sued over double billing people to worry about us.
What came out of those tests though was we did them out of order. So it should have been done with the VO2 max and then the Wingate afterwards. The order that we did all of the tests, because there was other testing that day. The lactic acid, I forgot the test that was, but the lactate test, the level that it was at should have dropped back off.
Yeah.
We went and did the VO2 max, and when we started the VO2 max, they start with that because I opted to do that just to see where the peaks and valleys were on everything. So they started with it, and they're like, this number's too high. We should probably wait until this comes down. I was like, well, let's just do it. It's going to be the afternoon. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
So we did it, and we ran through the whole test. I think I pulled like 27 minutes or something. Everybody was pretty impressed with that length. And the VO2 max test, you start at a certain point, and then the resistance increases. So you wind up harder and harder and harder, and it's testing every certain number of minutes, blood pressure and lactate. So I did 27-ish minutes, and when they came out with all the results at the end, basically what they saw was, or what she said was, we expect that because of where this is, that you would have had all sorts of issues with this. But instead what we saw is the line moved exactly as we would have anticipated, except in starting here, it started here.
Yeah.
We haven't seen anybody do that before.
That's pretty cool.
So, that was neat. It was attributed back to the training.
Yeah.
And tying this all the way back in, we were talking about the hardest you've worked and
Yeah.
to that point, and the actual overtraining and everything else, because of how hard I pushed in every session leading up to that. This is before all the real injuries kicked in.
Yeah. Now, was this doing like Allsru stuff or?
This was like 5 or 6 Never Say programs in. So when I started training strongman, I got one of his programs, and that's where I started after coming back from the torn SI joint, because that was my second day training strongman as I wound up with the torn SI joint. So 6 months later and all that rehab, and I started deadlifting again, I hopped on his program, and that was all I ran.
Yeah.
9-week, 12-week, 16-week. I just cycled through several of them. I'd message him and say, hey, what do I do next? And he'd send me another program.
Nice.
Wasn't coaching, it was just programming.
Right.
But it'd be like, hey, this is how this went. Which one would you do next? Oh, I do this one. And he wrote that one up for where I was and what specific things I needed to focus on. And I did that. That type of training,
Yes.
which for anybody that hasn't seen it,
It's intense.
you need to ease in. You need to ease into it.
Yeah.
It's basically an hour and a half of giant sets with no rest. And I think the longest rest period programmed in any of them was 90 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he gives you like 5 minutes in between 2 different giant sets. I thought he gave you like 5 minutes to set up from one to the other.
It's not written. And basically, the advice is as quick as you can get the next thing set up.
Maybe it took me 5 minutes.
That's possible.
That's
Yeah.
I've loaded plates slowly a few times.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically that hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes, which if you do them and you don't do them the same way that he does them, they're going to take you 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
If you do them the way he does them, yeah, you're in and out in an hour and 15.
Yeah.
It's that much and that intense.
Yeah.
Because of that, I don't know that I ever really hit overtraining.
Yeah.
I eased into that. I got into that. I did that. I ran that out, and that built up enough to where overtraining was probably pushed off further.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, well, you were increasing your work capacity from the word go.
And that's what I'm chasing since that injury, the bicep tear.
Yeah.
And which I think if I would have torn the thing completely off, I would have been back to it sooner.
Yeah.
So, there's that whole thought. But that almost year that I didn't train with that, with the shoulder, with everything else, all that's gone.
yeah.
I want to get back to it. I need to get back to it.
But
So I'm hoping with the
I think one of the things about his though is that because you're running even your max effort in giant sets, you're never truly going to hit a max effort lift.
most of the programs have a test cycle completely
they?
separate from
Okay.
the rest of it. And by all means, go out and buy one. I'm not specifically trying to sell anybody on
No.
it, but they're awesome programs.
They are.
Um,
He's great.
program.
They're some of the best written programs I've seen, and I've got a folder of probably 100 programs I bought
Yeah.
from the big names and everybody.
Yeah.
Just looking through, hey, do I want to do this? Do I want to try that?
Mhm.
Before I hired a coach, is what do I want to do next?
Yeah.
But there are separate testing days, so it'll be work up to a 1 rep max, work up to a
Right.
3 rep or 5 rep in the program.
Right.
You get all the way through. Okay, here's a deload where even though that's 4 days a week, you're only doing 2 days this week.
Right.
Then the week after, you're going to test on Monday and Friday,
Right.
and that's your whole week is 2 test days.
Right.
The week after that, you're going to test on Tuesday and Saturday.
Right. But what I'm saying though is that his max effort days, well, every day, with the ones I've seen of him, he does have like a max 3 rep, 5 rep, whatever. But it's not comparable to a more West Side style max effort, conjugate style max effort, that classic, because that is okay. You're taking the time you need to work up to that max because you're wanting to see what is your max for that day on that lift.
Yeah.
And that was something that I ran into on his was he almost takes you, it's like
It's getting you to the same point.
because let's say you want to get here.
Mhm.
All right. So if you come at it from my angle, which is more of we're going to build max strength, build max strength, build max strength, and then we're going to come in and introduce conditioning along the way, and we're going to wave conditioning in. We're going to get here. With his, he's almost the other side of the pyramid to where he's saying, okay, we're going to build conditioning in from day one. And I'm not saying one is better than the other. They're both different ways of skinning the same thing. But his way of getting you to your max strength is in a conditioned disadvantage, which he's even talked about before. Don't fully recover, don't train recovered.
I think the worst one, the absolute worst one out of all of his programs, the one movement or the one giant set. I forgot what the first movement was, but then you go in and you do front squats, like 12 front squats at like 80%. And as soon as you rack the bar, you turn around, you grab a medicine ball, and you do medicine ball jump squats with it.
Yeah.
As soon as you put the thing up.
Yeah.
You turn around, you do that. And his statement on it is, this is teaching your body to work when your body does not want to work anymore.
Yes. And there's a lot of value in that, especially for strongman training.
And I think that's what got me to those test results.
Yeah.
That's what got me to that athletic point.
Yeah.
Where I was able to do that.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is you have to go out and you have to challenge yourself to do hard programs. And the 2 programs of his that I have,
You keep going.
All right.
I'll be right back.
he has a note at the very beginning. This is not an easy program.
Yeah.
You have to commit to doing this program. And if you finish this program, you are not just a normal individual.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy, but you reap the rewards of what you push yourself to
Right.
do. So, it's a different way of skinning the cat.
Yeah.
It's, I like what he does. I've implemented some of his stuff into my own training,
Mm-hmm.
both me and both what I do with clients.
Yeah.
I like to spring a giant set on somebody.
Well, I mean, but that's the beauty of something like Conjugate is it allows for things like that to be implemented into it,
Right.
conditioning waves and things like that. So you can have the best of both worlds.
Right. And what he's doing is a different style of a conjugate setup.
Right.
And he even calls it conjugate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, different ways to skin the cat. It's just, I can't remember where I was going. Completely derailed.
Yeah, that's about normal for us.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Arousal.
Yeah, right now a lot of what I'm doing kind of feels like the moving dirt
Yeah.
philosophy.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm seeing that things are starting to fall back in line.
Yeah.
Like the other day doing the EMOM deadlifts.
Yeah.
It was 405 on an axle. It's considerable weight, but not maybe 80%,
Yeah.
75 maybe. And I think that's what I based it on, was 75% of just an arbitrary number that I thought would probably be my max right now.
Yeah.
And it came out to like 401.75. And I thought that's 405. Good enough.
Yeah.
But
That math stuff's difficult.
yeah. But there was part of me that was like, all right, I know I can move that weight, but can I do it 10 times every minute on the minute? Surprised myself, was able to go through it, and I felt really good at the end of it. And if you watch, I mean, the only big difference I felt between the first and the last set was my lockout was softer. On my last set, it was very soft, but it was also like, fuck, this is done. I picked it up, put it down, finished, walk away, go do the next thing. But it's definitely, I'm getting back into the swing of things. But with me losing 40 pounds since my last serious training cycle,
That's a huge change in your deadlift.
it's a huge change in my deadlift and all leverages. So
Yeah.
if you watch those videos, that is the narrowest my stance has ever been.
Yeah.
And it actually felt right. I've tried going, the traditional wider stance that I've always used, and it just doesn't, it's not working the same.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, and that's something you're going to have to deal with too, with losing that much weight. Nothing is going to be in the same spot. Your
Right.
bench stop is going to be different. Where you need to do everything is just going to feel different.
I'm glad that, considering what the last 2 years have looked like, the numbers haven't changed too much. There hasn't been a significant, there's a little bit of a drop off, but it's not like, oh, holy shit, I've got to build back up from, zero.
No.
So the strength is still there. It's just figuring out where, how I need to position myself
Yeah.
to tap into it.
Yeah.
So
And yeah.
I can't even really imagine that. So, 40 pounds. I've gone down and back up 10 pounds
Yeah.
in the last 6 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm back up.
Yeah.
I'm back up in. I'm not a 105 anymore right now.
Me either.
For various reasons. But I got back there. So I started out at 235. I got all the way down to 222, 223. And then this got hurt and that got hurt, and I just kind of got sick and slipped off and this and that. But even between 222 and 232, when I pulled the deadlift, this week, I couldn't stand the way that I wanted to. And we're only talking about 10 pounds
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But I couldn't stand the way that I wanted to, because this was one of the things that the coach had me do, was wanted me to move my feet in more.
Yeah.
And try and move my feet in. I've always tried to keep them wider.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started deadlifting, when I first started making progress, my feet were like Nick Best distance apart.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if there's anybody deadlifts with a narrower stance than he does.
Damn,
But
your heels touching.
my feet were almost there.
Yeah.
And then 2-3 weeks ago, you can see where my feet are when I hit the PR. Now they're a little bit wider because it doesn't feel the same, even with just that.
And the width of my stance has decreased almost a foot. Like, that's significant.
Yeah.
I'm back then I would try to deadlift that narrow just because I wanted to see if I could. And
Well, you always operated better on a narrower stance. Now, narrow for you at the time is different than
Right.
narrow now. But I remember, like, when we first started working together, I was like, have you tried going out wider? Let's see what it looks like. Wow, it looks like shit when you go wider. Okay, bring it back in. Bring it back
really
in. Yeah, because, when I set up, my shins are right at where the knurling starts.
Yeah.
And that's my, right there. And he was,
My shoes, with my feet kicked out, my shoes are completely inside the knurling.
mine. Now, coming back from this Achilles rupture, it's weird because it's trying to refine that.
yeah.
And like, I used to do a full drop down before I would pull. I would actually sit there, put my straps on with weight out there, drop down where my butt would actually touch my ankles. I did have the mobility for that. Pull the weight back into my shins, work my way back up, and feel where that tight spot was. And that's where I would initiate the pull.
Yeah.
I don't recommend anybody ever learn to deadlift that way.
I got talked out of that.
You-
So that was one of the coaching points that we just went through, was, and basically his advice was to deadlift and then come back down and pause about an inch off the ground and pull back up. And that's where I should start. Because up until there, I was down lower, and then as I was pulling tension in the bar, I would rise and rise and rise and then go.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure which way I feel better. It feels a little weird, but this is new, so it's going to feel weird.
I think it's one of those things like hook grip.
No, thank
Like,
you.
If you started doing it early enough, if you started completely static early enough,
My thumbs hurt because you
Yeah.
said
Yeah,
the word.
right.
then that's
I think
fine.
the skin just came off of my thumb.
With me though, there's no chance I'm ever going to sit there and hook grip a deadlift. I'm just not going to do it. There's no chance that my best deadlift is going to start with me in a static position,
Yeah.
just because I'm this far in at this point. Yeah, roll, and I always tell people, roll. If you don't sleep with a CPAP, you don't need to roll the bar on a deadlift.
Yeah. I mean, I used to roll off my deadlift all the time.
Yeah.
And it just hit me. I have not been doing that.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know where we were when we cut back into this thing, so
I don't know, but I'm about ready to
let's.
hit that ammonia again and see where I'm
All right.
at.
So now that we're
to
back from
130.
now that we're back from that commercial break, we're gonna watch Justin. Look at
Let me hit it first just to make him mad.
just look at that.
No,
I may
there's
hit
stuff
it
go
first
around.
just to make him mad.
Go ahead. There's stuff go around. It's not scarce. It's a
Just the look
giver.
on his face when I brought the bottle out.
Come on, you gotta get acquainted with it. Act like you know it.
All right. Hold on.
I And you're not even going to squeeze the fucking thing.
No.
He's just doing it for fun.
Just to get some of the good fumes out, so he has less.
148.
It's consistent.
Yeah.
Well, went up from where it was a second ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was back down to 130.
Better than sauerkraut.
I had a guy at a CrossFit gym one time. It was back. I ever tell you about the story of the CrossFit gym in San Antonio that let me go work out there during Hurricane Harvey?
No,
I
I
like the
don't
story.
think. I don't think we talked. We talked about other CrossFit gyms last time.
Yeah, so this gym, I believe it was Body Armor CrossFit out in San Antonio. Super cool people. They found out because we were trapped in Houston for Harvey, and then as soon as the floodwaters receded enough for us to get out of town, we went out to San Antonio, went out there, and told them, hey, I just want to buy a couple day passes. I'm going to be here for a few days while everything calms down. Wouldn't take my money for anything. Yeah, dude, go ahead. They had a powerlifting area outside of the CrossFit gym, and then they had the CrossFit gym. Super cool gym. You go ahead, man. Don't worry about paying us anything. Good people. One of the guys in there was doing that with a mint oil. He's taking mint oil, essential oil and putting it up in there. He's like, yeah, it kind of does the same thing.
Was he wearing Birkenstocks?
No.
I feel like
No, he said mint, not patchouli.
Yeah.
it's still essential oil.
He was.
I just love how they replaced the word snake with essential, and now everyone buys it again.
He was a vegan, though. He was trying to get me to watch a documentary on veganism.
Oh
I'm like,
God.
I'm not going to do it, bud. I'm sorry. I appreciate your point of view, but no. So,
Speaking of which, remind me, I got stickers for you sitting over there.
awesome.
Yeah, they're great stickers.
Well, I think we're descending.
Yep.
We are descending.
Today has been a long week.
It's been an interesting one to hear.
Yeah.
Round and about again. I think we hit a bunch of stuff that we didn't even talk about talking about.
No.
So that was always
No,
fun.
some good programming talk
Yeah.
and stuff, just general,
Yeah, the programming thing's an interesting one. I think we'll probably wind up. I think
Yeah.
probably next time will be a really interesting programming because we'll all be a month further into what we're doing.
Is spicy or
Parting. No, I mean parting thoughts, not a.
Oh, parting thoughts. Ammonia is
Let's do a
awesome.
parting. Hit the ammonia again and give us a parting
Hold
thoughts,
on.
Justin.
Hold on.
No,
Let me-
crack.
Let me clear it out.
No. Crack it. Pile it on top.
Let me get my mind right.
It's kind of the opposite of the purpose, isn't it?
get his mind right. We'll be here all
Get
day.
my mind right.
We'll get words of wisdom from geeked out Justin.
Warrior.
Ah!
Yep, there it is.
Motherfuckers just need to quit being bitches about training. That's what it really boils down to. CNS fatigue my nuts. He's nuts. Did that sound like cornbread and sweet tea enough for you?
What the hell were we? What were we doing? when
I
you
was
said-
texting to talk you, and it kept just butchering what I was
and
saying.
he was like, "Is my accent that bad?" I said, "Dude, you sound like cornbread and sweet tea."
But yeah, people just need to quit being bitches about training. Yeah, it's training hard, train hard. If it feels like it's hard, it's because it is. But you know what? You'll be better for it. Just don't be an asshole.